Ukraine again hits the Russian military and energy infrastructure in many of the places like Tambov, Bryansk Oblast and even Grozny, the capital city of Chechnya, the part of the Russian Federation so far. Russians even published this photo as the claim taken in Taganrog, where the Russian barracks were hit by, as you can see, attackers. Taganrog is located over here, really not far away from Ukrainian border. If we zoom into the place, you'll see that it's on the coast of the Azov Sea and also it has a couple of the airfields. Those could be the basis for the Russian military aviation and most of all helicopters because they have the limited range. I don't think that Russia really stores their advanced fighter jets in those airfields. Well, when we check out the parking stand, oh, this is the A-50 AVAX, Russian AVAX airplane, but they were removed already. This image is kind of old. Interesting, so it was one of the main bases for the Russian surveillance airplanes. And on a note here, there is the Taganrog Air Base, also lots of the Ilyushin-76 airplanes and many of the Antonov too, so no fighter jets even before were stationed there. Well, now I'm not sure what Russia placed there. I don't have the most recent satellite images, unfortunately. This image was shared from the inside of the facility which was targeted, so for sure it is the Russian military base because there are some of the banners. So it sustained some of the damages. The video is kind of chaotic, presented by Astra. This is the Russian opposition source. They usually share those kind of the images one of the first. Well, as you can see, even the wall is cracked. Well, it's kind of the lonely building there, the Russian barracks on the territory of the military camp. It is hard to get the information about the losses from the Russian side, but several of the ambulances went to the scene. And the similar case happened in Grozny. Yes, Kadyrov didn't sleep this night because one more time the Akhmat military base was hit by Ukrainian drones. And we have even some sort of the video of it, just the sunrise and warm up during the night for them. We also have the eyewitness with a dash cam filming this fireball. The fire brigades just rushed to the place, and as we see, there's just a small fire on the roof. The roof. Here are the fresh images. I wonder if it is the same building or not, because the fireball was quite big, but here we have just windows broken. Well, what we know that Kadyrov confirmed the strike on one of the Akhmat Spetsnaz buildings. But he said that the drone was shot down right on top of the building, so just debris went to it. There was just a light fire and fire brigades eliminated it very fast. Well, from the images I saw, if it is the same building, yes, the damage was just a minor one. As usual, Kadyrov responded that he will eliminate all of his enemies, this time Ukrainians. Well, before he got the idea to give the Ukrainian prisoners of war some of the automatic rifles to put them on the roofs for them to shut down the drones which are heading towards Grozny. The Grozny city was destroyed by the Russian Federation forces during the Second Chechen War, but Kadyrov blames Ukraine for everything. But anyways, guys, as in my previous video, I want to say that the attitude towards the Ukrainian prisoners of war in Chechnya is much better compared to the attitude on the other Russian territories. Yes, Kadyrov on public wants to zero everyone, but it's just for his PR image TikTok campaign. And it's actually good that they feed our prisoners of war normally. They're also providing the medical support, unlike again on the other Russian territory where our prisoners of war are being just tortured. Well, here I guess it also could be some of the exceptional cases, but I'm telling you the story of our guys who returned back from the Russian prisons. And about Kadyrov himself, well, there is one more big conflict. There is the shadow dropped on this person by the Russian regime. Kuban region MPs call on Kadyrov to apologize to Bastrykin. Bastrykin is the head of the Russian Criminal Investigating Committee. The conflict happened because some of the Chechen youngsters performed their outlaw activity outside Chechnya. In that case, Kuban, so those youngsters were arrested and been charged with the criminal accusations. Well, Kadyrov didn't like it. Probably those youngsters were not the ordinary ones, so he called Bastrykin and the Russian Investigative Committee some of the bad words. And now Kuban MPs call Kadyrov to apologize. Also, the Russian Nazi military groups like Espanola and Battalion Rusich call Kadyrov to apologize as well. So there's been pressure on him from many of the sides. And definitely there is also the conflict between Akhmat and the Russian command. It became public after the start of the Kursk operation. Then Akhmat battalion just left its positions, and there was the big scandal around the Wildberries company, the Russian Amazon analog. Kadyrov wanted just to raid capture that company that was negotiating negotiated with Putin before. I mean, there was the special alliance between Wildberries and some of the pro-Kremlin forces. So they didn't let Kadyrov to capture it, and since that time I see the increasing pressure on Kadyrov. Well, maybe someone from the Russian FSB told Putin that Kadyrov could be an ex-Prigozhin with his behavior. But so far I guess that the Russian regime will keep Kadyrov in power, but Kadyrov obviously should take care about his personal security, just not to follow his father's footsteps. So if you think that they're friends, no, they're not. It is a pure power-greedy chase, and Kadyrov obviously has more ambitions than to stay the local Tsar in Chechnya. No, he at least needs the Northern Caucasus, control over it. That's why we also see the tensions between him and Dagestani businessmen, now Kubans of the regions which are very close or bordering Chechnya. Kadyrov is also looking to put his son Adam in power in Chechnya at least. I think that almost half of the content produced by the Kadyrov PR team is dedicated to Adam. They really invest a lot in this young guy, making him just a walking meme, and people are laughing. But it seems like the Kadyrov clan doesn't understand that stuff. I think that they totally ruined a reputation, if it was really a reputation, of Adam Kadyrov with those crazy videos. And for example, he was just shooting from 2 golden machine guns. You can't even find that in a brainless shooting games like Serious Sam or something. But here, you know, a son of the leader of Chechnya, and everything is like that there. They're completely out of the reality. It's the sign of any sort of the dictator regime. And if this spoiled son of Kadyrov, Adam Kadyrov, someday becomes a leader of Chechnya, oh my god, we'll see just the vast ocean of the ultimate cringe stuff. Well, at least Kadyrov wasn't raised as the spoiled kid at first, and he spoiled, then he got the power. He was actually fighting against the Russian Federation army during the first Chechen war, but after his father betrayed his own people, Ramzan decided to walk the same way, and probably he may end the same way. There is the possibility that Putin doesn't want Kadyrov clan to rule Chechnya any longer. Why? Well, it's basically hard to control those guys, then you show your weakness, like for example in Syria, or with the failed blitzkrieg operation in Ukraine, which now turned to be a long war. So I expect that the first cracks of Russia will start somewhere in the Northern Caucasus. My friends, if you want to support the job that I do on YouTube, you may do it via Patreon. I'll put the link for my Patreon page right in the video description below. Thank you so much for supporting my motivation. Alright, so the last night Ukraine also hit a very important Russian base not far away from Mariupol. It was the big hub for the Russian ammunition. It's actually the second night consecutive that Ukraine uses the long-range drones, or those could be a Ukrainian-made missile tests. By the way, guys, I didn't mention that Ukraine actually used the ATACMS missile to hit the Rostov region. Well, it means that Kursk is not the limit. Also, it was quite loud the last night in Crimea, Sevastopol and Simferopol. There were some of the kabooms reported. Again, it's kind of hard to obtain the visual information from Crimea because locals are just scared to share the kaboom images in internet. Alright guys, now let's touch the United States politics because it's relative to Ukraine. For example, the FBI director nominee Kash Patel called for a revision investigation of where the American funds went in support of Ukraine during the Biden's presidency. I think I'll expedite it for you, so let's watch.
To investigate where has this money gone. The American people are owed that answer because it's our money. It's our taxpayer dollars.
And there's a lot of really good reason to be concerned because, the Ukraine was known as a, place of corruption, a place for money laundering.
Yeah. It's not like we sent $1 billion, as if that was even a small number to begin with, right? We've sent 100 times that to one country. I don't know how this Congress is allowed to get away with it. And Zelensky is out there. He went on the world stage and said Russia fired a rocket into Poland, which would literally be an act of war. Well, it turned out that Russia fired no such rocket. It turned out that the rocket came from the Ukraine and was fired into Poland.
And it was a mistake, basically.
It was, so they are now accusing Ukraine for firing the missiles to Poland. They didn't say that there were numerous of the Russian drones which landed in Poland, Moldova, Romania, and they actually fly regularly via NATO airspace, but NATO didn't do anything to intercept those drones. Yeah, the same goes not just for Poland, but also for Romania. The members of Parliament of Romania, I guess, even gathered for the meeting to decide whether they should shut down the Russian drones and missiles or not. Well, it's kind of strange to hear that accusation for the possible future FBI director. Honestly, guys, with that dream team, I do not expect any good for Ukraine. I just hope that I'm wrong.
Zelensky's going to go out there and beg the world for more money and come to the U.S. and sit in the well of our Congress and say, we want more money, and then call and demand the new Speaker of the House provide more and more money, and call Mitch McConnell and say, we need more and more machinery. He needs to be more prepared about global statements that bring us to the precipice of war than doing what he did last fall with this missile attack, or this missile launch, I should say. And we just can't have full faith and trust by giving a leader $100 billion and having him say, I'm not telling you where the money went.
It is a clear propaganda here. I don't know why they do behave like that. Like the most part of the military support which goes for Ukraine stays in the United States of America. It is used to pay salaries to buy expensive equipment for the factories and to buy materials to produce the weapons, artillery shells and so on. Yes, there is also some of the direct financial support which goes to Ukraine from the United States, but relative to the military support, it is just a very tiny little part. So yes, obviously you may launch investigation on that. I wonder why they continue to speak about it after the elections. Well, maybe it's my guess that they want to press the Democratic Party a lot, and they need some sort of the scandal around the Ukrainian military support, saying that Biden did that or this wrong, just to win the next elections after 4 years and keep Congress, Senate, everything. So they don't really care about Ukraine after all. They will use it in their own political way. Just my thoughts, guys. I could be wrong. Meanwhile, Elon Musk became the first person in history whose assets combined worth more than 400 billion United States dollars. And just for you to understand how much that is, if you earn each day $10,000 each day and you'll not spend those funds, and if you live for more than 80,000 years, you'll still not have that amount of money. The actives he has are absolutely crazy. But everything of that might collapse at any moment, because Tesla, for example, is the absolute bubble company. People just invest there. The production profit ratio just do not match in any sort of the point. The cars they produce and all of their big facilities do not worth the funds which investors invested in Tesla. And yes, one day that bubble will collapse and drop the company to bikini bottom, so I wouldn't invest in Tesla at this stage. Especially if we'll see that the relations between Elon Musk and Donald Trump deteriorate, and they will, for sure. Elon Musk and I think Donald Trump Jr. are Zelensky's haters. There is the question whether they hate Ukraine or not, but for sure they hate the current Ukrainian government. For example, the Donald Trump Jr. shared this meme after Zelensky's meeting with President Macron and future President Donald Trump. So you can see what is on that picture. Actually, it is a Ukrainian meme which was shared in internet even before elections during the meeting between Donald Trump and Zelensky. Here you can see Elon Musk also reacted and that laughing. So they are teasing Zelensky, they are laughing at him, showing that he is some sort of the boy relative to Donald Trump, who is the real world leader, politician, cool guy. I don't know what else you may say about Donny. If I say something about Zelensky, it will be fine because I'm a Ukrainian citizen, but if they laugh about the foreign country's leader, really, who represents Ukraine and asking actually for help from the country which signed a paper document. Yes, it is a memorandum, but here, after all, there were security guarantees for Ukraine. So we're not asking your American soldiers to Ukraine according to that paper document, whatever. Just help us, send your weaponry. But no, Ukraine just wants our taxpayers' money, that's it. Let Russia take Ukraine, we don't need that problem. Probably they think like that after all, I don't know. So clearly there is the massive hate from Republican part of the United States politician elite. Not all of them, but yes, the MAGA group hates Ukrainian government. That's why I do not expect any sort of the positivity for Ukraine in the next 4 years. Moreover, some of the lawmakers in the United States call for intelligence assessment of ending United States support for Ukraine, so they think about it. They're even looking for what it could be for America if the United States stop providing weapons to Ukraine and Russia wins the war. As we know before, Trump said that Ukraine should probably prepare for less military aid. Not just they will discuss the withdrawal of the military and economic support, but also withdrawal of the permissions to use long-range provided missiles. And also they will assess the effects of the potential defeat of Ukraine by Russia, including potential further aggression from Russia, China, Iran and North Korea. Oh, for sure there will be if defeat of Ukraine happens. We'll see where we're heading to very, very soon, but it seems like Russia doesn't want to stop the war in Ukraine. For example, a speaker of the Russian Foreign Ministry, Zakharov, was said that they haven't received any sort of the proposals from Donald Trump yet. And Rybakov, the deputy of the same department, said that we're gonna study the documents, but study doesn't mean agree. So Russia says that it is looking for the implementation of the Putin's proposals, taking into account the realities on the ground, and that can only end the conflict. The realities on the ground for Russia mean the occupation of full Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, Lugansk oblasts, at least. Also, as usual, denazification, demilitarization, and no robust guarantees for Ukraine should be provided. Well, actually, the last thing I heard from Peskov that they're ready to provide security guarantees for Ukraine themselves. Sounds like a joke, really. Well, as I always say, we'll see how it goes, but it seems like it all goes to the bigger conflicts around the world, because if there will be the peace agreement signed not in favor of Ukraine and Russian regime will still be in power, unfortunately, in that case, there will be many more wars around and dictators will raise their heads even higher. Well, hopefully the United States Intelligence Committee will present their report relative to that topic, and senators plus congressmen will not vote for cancellation of the military support for Ukraine in the future. Hey guys, I'm not complaining, I'm speaking about the realities, so I'm here to provide you with the recent news, and I'm telling you those. And the political news, well, I consider them not really good for Ukraine, as well as what is happening on the front lines, by the way, but we also have to review the events because they're very important. For example, just recently Russians broke through Shevchenko, so it was yesterday, it is today. So they actually occupied the settlement and they continue their way towards Pokrovsk. So how many kilometers are there from the first settlements? Well, 2.65, 1.5 miles away. A very, very close distance. They just need to jump through those fields and that's it. Can they attack the town just from one direction? I don't think so. But there is also a problem with the Ukrainian military command, from what I understood judging on the materials published by some of the journalists. This military map was presented by Ukrainian journalist Butusov. I trust this guy actually because he visits front lines regularly. Sorry for the Cyrillic letters here, but here's Shevchenko, which was occupied recently. Here on top is Pokrovsk, and here he speaks about this robust defense line, as he said, which Ukraine built spending lots of funds on it, but Russians took it with no fight. Strangely why it happened, but it happened. There was the miscommunication in the Ukrainian military command of this particular sector. Basically, Ukrainian forces were retreating little by little for rotations. No one was commanded to stay in this defense line because the military command thought that the Ukrainian army is somewhere over here before it, so they didn't send any sort of the backup to hold it. There was already the video on my channel, I guess, where I explained the problems in the Ukrainian army. They're quite big and severe. Because of that, I would like to see more intervene of our Western allies into what is happening in the Ukrainian army. The best case, as I see it, is to provide Ukraine more military support, but at the same time send monitoring group and specialists to help to reform Ukrainian army, because without reforms, guys, it will happen again and again. And you know, the haters of Ukraine will use those kind of the cases saying that where the money goes, you know, they build, but they cannot defend. There is corruption, but corruption is elsewhere, including the United States of America. Yes, it shouldn't be in Ukraine during the times of war. And that's the big problem of the Ukrainian government, that is also has the corruption. I may say about it because I'm Ukrainian. You know, I'm speaking about it for more than a year already, but I don't see the change. And that's bad actually, because it lowers the morale of the Ukrainian people, of Ukrainian resistance. This year is definitely not that great for Ukraine in a military way and also in political way. Well, the good thing that Ukraine still has capable brigades, like for example the 3rd Assault Brigade, and this guy was spotted by Ukrainian drone. This is the Russian warrior who occupied the local building and was waving the Russian flag. Let's see what happened to him. Yeah, after all, not that happy. You may see the influence of the tremendous dosage of the alcohol on the human organism on this picture. So what happened that our guys from the 3rd Assault Brigade just stormed the building and put down the Russian flag. It happened in the Kharkiv region. He said that he is not considering him as the occupier, and there are many of the Russian prisoners who are so brainwashed by the Russian propaganda and the Russian vodka that they continue to say that they fight for the freedom of Russia on Ukrainian territory. He also mentioned that he was paid 1.9 million rubles, so roughly $19,000, to enter the Russian army at once. Then he signed the contract. Plus, as we know, there is quite a high salary. So he was waving the flag because he obtained the command to go to the gray zone, enter the building and wave it. Kind of the suicide mission. He's just lucky that he was captured by the 3rd Assault Brigade and captured alive. Again, it says a lot about the value of the Russian soldiers' lives for the Russian army. A drone video with the Russian flag on a random building is more important for them than the life of this individual. The Russian soldiers are complaining again. They also mentioned that they pay to their commanders not to go to the mid waves. But their commanders continue to send them to the mid waves even after obtaining the money. It is absolutely crazy. Probably that guy with the flag was ordered to go to that building as well for the commander's report, which that officer potentially could send to the higher chief that they've captured some of the territory or some of the village. Yeah, the Russian army is the total madness, but it's divided like into two groups. Those crazy mobiks, or the Russian ex-prisoners, alcoholics, they don't care about them, but also Russian army has quite capable forces. So in 2022, Prigozhin showed the tactics of how they may capture Bakhmut, for example. Then Prigozhin used his enormous resource of the Russian prisoners. He sent those to the straightforward mid-wave attacks, at the same time attacking from the other sides using quite capable forces with military experience in Syria and Africa. They only changed that before they use prisoners mostly, but now they use volunteers. And let's continue with the military map update. In this pocket in Kurahovo direction, you can see a change almost every day. So every day Russia takes the ground. The pace is not stopping. The crucial situation is in Uspenivka, so Ukrainian forces potentially could be trapped in those villages. Our influencers, volunteers and commanders are calling about this situation as better to withdraw the forces now, but as you can see, for many days the Ukrainian army is still there. I just hope that Russians will not be able to close this gap by taking Uspenivka, and in that case many of the Ukrainian soldiers will be just trapped. As you remember, there was the withdrawal of the Ukrainian armed forces from Avdiivka, and the Russians moved quite fast and they were able to trap the part of the Ukrainian forces. I guess 20 soldiers as far as I remember, but the Russians commit the war crimes, zeroing them. Also Russia moved in Toretsk, I guess just a little. No, the movement was quite big. For today they've took this part. The half of the Toretsk, as you can see, has already been occupied by Russians. So if they take Toretsk and Chasiv Yar, they may advance from two of the directions to Konstantinivka. As for the recent Russian advancement towards the Sumy region, well, for now they were not able to expand the territory they gained. But I want to reassure you that Russia is unable to continue their attacks with the present pace because their military storages are coming to an end. Yes, even from the Soviet Union era, they don't have enough armored vehicles and tanks, at least to cover their losses in a long-term perspective. The armored depots are practically empty, not all of them, but this one is the largest. There are enough armored vehicles for the first quarter of 2025 at least, which will obviously be used on fronts of Kursk and Donetsk. So this is the Russian storage base is practically empty. Well, I guess with that, see you tomorrow, my friends, and as always, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.